Welcome to the channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in. On today's video, I am going to be reviewing a brand new watch. It's been sent to me by a store which I have dealt with before. It is a new brand, but it is a bit of a random brand. Now, this particular store does stock a bunch of random watches. They don't have a particular watch brand that they focus on. And just for a point of reference, this is the same store that's bought us watches like Sieg Flammer, and I wonder what happened to them. I wish they still were around because they did make two really good watches, and I'm assuming they sold quite a few, but they just didn't reappear. And a lot of the times it does get a bit confusing to us consumers of Aliexpress that buy watches. And it's important to know that not every store is a brand. A lot of these stores are just agents, guys like myself, yourself, which are sourcing these watches from independent resellers or possibly manufacturers and factories, because a lot of factories do produce multiple brands. So this particular store, it's important to point out that they're not affiliated with any brand. They just stock a bunch of random watches, and it's quite an interesting store. I've had a few watches from there before. They do have a few watches here and there which will kind of pique your interest in them. So I'll try and get some of the more interesting watches from there. However, this is the one they've sent. This is the latest one that they want to try and promote. However, as you guys know, even though it's sent in for free, this is not a promotion. I'll try and be as honest as possible, as I always am. So this is homaging a very popular tank style watch, should we say. Brand name is called Tinny. As we are dealing with AliExpress, I don't comment anymore on names because they are, as you guys know, a bit random, and they're not always the best, are they? So yeah, this is the watch. It's a full stainless steel case. You don't have a screw down crown. You do have a physical actual screw down case back, so not a one that turns, but you got screws that hold down the case back. The watch runs a Seagull ST1701 movement, so that does wind. I don't believe it hacks, but it does change the date. In fact, let's check the hacking feature. No, it doesn't hack. And this Seagull ST1701 is in a lot of watches, and it is probably a bit dated now. We've got Seiko N35 in the majority of stuff that we look at. And you've got Miyotas out there as well. So this is just a bit more dated than that. The watch does also feature a mineral crystal. Now, you bet you're wondering why not sapphire. Well, it's because of the profile of the case. It is curved, so you have to have a mineral glass. But you don't really have to. It's just sapphire is a lot more expensive to get a bespoke shape. So usually you'll find mineral crystals because they are much cheaper to produce. And the price for this watch is $99, around £85. So it's sub £100, which isn't too bad. It's well within that budget category that everybody is happy in. The watch comes on a leather strap, as you can see. It's a standard leather strap. I do believe it to be genuine. It's croc style strap, and it does suit the theme, or the style of watch, should I say. So that's the specs. In terms of dimensions, in hand it feels quite big. It does feel quite bulky. If you look at the side profile of the case, it does come across as slightly thick, but on paper it's actually not too bad. The case diameter is actually 36 millimeters. You've got quite a compact lug-to-lug of 44.5 millimeters, and the thickness is just 11.5, which for a dress watch, granted, rather thick. But from what we look at, 11.5 isn't all that bad. Some of the features that you'll see here that really stand out, and I was quite surprised. I didn't really expect too much from this watch, in all honesty. I think one of them is not my particular style. However, some of the details, some of the features are quite really well done. The dial, for example, you've got this sort of floral or guilloche style pattern. It's an engraved dial, beautifully done. That sub dial is finished nicely in that silver. All the printing is quite precise. There's no overruns or anything like that. You've also got a pretty clean looking dial. There's no bits of debris. Date window 2 or 3, and I like these tapered hands. Now under some lighting you can see they are actually blued, not truly blued like you get the steel hands which have been coated or they've been through a process. I think these are just kind of blue hands, and also the sub dial. So under lighting it's quite nice, and the fully polished case does give it that effect of a nice dress watch. The brand, it is what it is, guys. Tinny. It does roll off the tongue okay enough. Move over to the crown. It is slightly slippery. It's one of those hex crowns, and you've got, I believe it's a bit of resin placed in the crown. Obviously just a nod to the watch. It is actually homaging. As I mentioned about the case back, you got your specifications on the back. It's actually screwed down, and you can see just a bit of decoration on these seagull movements. But what I can say about this, it is slightly loud. I don't know if that's due to the case size, but when you do wind this watch, you can hear it. Also, the rotor does make a fair bit of noise. I don't think you'll hear it obviously as you're wearing it out and about, but if you're just sitting by yourself, you actually might hear it rocking away. I know some people don't like that. The buckle used on this is one of these, they're like butterfly, but for leather straps. And I will be brutally honest, guys, I don't know how to actually make use of this clasp. I have been fighting with it, but I believe it might be something like this. So we just squeeze it down and just pull through, but it's nothing really holding it down. So I don't know how it actually works, but that is because I don't wear a lot of leather straps, to be honest, and use these kind of buckles. So people who are used to this might have a better chance of figuring it out than me. Let's see how this wears on wrist. As I said, it's pretty compact in terms of dimensions, but in hand it does feel rather large. So on wrist I'm wearing my Sugues top chronometer for your information. Brilliant watch from Sugues, still working, still functioning. I've had it for, well, ever since I did the review on it, so a very good watch. So with this Carl Tinney, I'm just going to hold down the strap. As I said, I can't really get it to work. It sits pretty centered. The case does have a slight curvature, so it does fit properly on the wrist. And I'd say it's rather large for a tank watch. I haven't seen the original, but just looking at this on wrist now, I imagine it to just look a lot better if it's quite slim, a lot thinner, because then I think it'll do its job of being a dress watch. This still comes across as quite thick, even though it does fit on a wrist quite well. The lug to lug is quite compact, and for reference, my wrist size is 6.5 inches. So yeah, this is the Carl Tinney from the Leon 7 store. In summary, what I would say though, I'd just be wary of these brands. The warranty side of things should be covered by the store, but we all know how warranty goes when we deal with China, and that's why I don't really talk about warranty. I don't use that as a selling point, or I don't use that as a point to give them any credit, because I've given a lot of watches back to China. I know how difficult it is, and I know the customer service isn't always the best. But this is a random brand. It's what they call a mushroom brand in the homage industry. So only if they kind of expand on this, then you can really call it a brand. But right now, it's just a random one from the Leon 7 store. I think it's a bit dated for the price. I think it should be just a lot thinner, but that's my opinion on this watch. If you guys do find that you like it, you like the style, you like the size, etc., then I'll leave the link in the description. For me, it's nothing too special, to be honest. It doesn't really do much for me. But as I said, the build quality is there. It seems okay. The movement, even though it's a bit dated, I've not heard any horror stories about the Seagull ST 1701. And as I said, it's in quite a lot of watches and they run pretty reliably. So that's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.